Good evening, everyone. I apologize for the delay. I've been out in the storm. We had some damage. We had a microburst in my ward, 90-mile-an-hour winds, and it caused some damage. So the life of an alderman: trees go down, buildings go up, all in the same night. That's what we're here to talk about. But I do want to thank you for your patience. As you know, we're here to discuss the latest iteration and the details of the Northwestern Memorial Hospital cancer proposal. I have to say, in all the zoning policy discussions that I've had the honor of facilitating in my now almost 14 years as alderman, this is the first time that we've had a proposed building where there is universal agreement of the need. You know, we may disagree on the height and the design and traffic and all those other things, which is standard in a discussion like this, but this is really the first time where everyone I've talked to agrees that not only is this an important addition to our community and to Northwestern's campus, but who could be against cancer research? You know, I mean, I really haven't had anyone tell me, don't build this building. What a terrible idea. So I just wanted to start the conversation with that unique observation. That at least as far as that's concerned, we're all on the same page. And I think we all are. Everyone has been touched by this disease. Many of us have lost loved ones. Some of us have experienced it ourselves. So the fact that we would have not only a treatment, but a research facility that would be right here in our community that we get to host, it's a unique responsibility for Streeterville residents. You know, we are neighbors of this healthcare campus, Northwestern, Lurie Children's, Shirley Ryan, et cetera. And we host the world. Every day, people travel from literally all over the planet to seek the health care that's available in our backyard. And it puts a special burden on us to understand it, to engage with it, occasionally to access it, and at a time like this, to partner with them and discuss it, and to try to come up with the best possible program that gets them what they need, but has a minimum impact on the community. And that's what we're here tonight to discuss. Many of you, I'm looking around the room, have seen some of the details already. Some of you may have not, but there's some new things that we're gonna discuss tonight. So there's something for everyone in the presentation tonight. So who's gonna lead it? Charlie, Posh, okay. Without further ado, you wanna introduce the entire team then? Yeah. Okay, go right ahead. Thank you, welcome.
Thanks, Alderman Hopkins, and good evening. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm Charlie Batir, Vice President of Construction. In the room, we have other Northwestern Medicine leaders, some representatives from our architect, Perkins and Will, our contractor, Power Construction, and some various other consultants. Before we get started, just to ground everybody in what we're talking about, we determined a couple years ago that we needed more space on this campus to continue to grow and provide the care that only Northwestern can provide in this area. And so we went through a master planning process to determine where would a new tower go, what would go in the new tower, and then what are the ramifications after that new tower opens. And it became very apparent very early that oncology made the most sense to go in a new tower because of their footprint, how much it's going to grow, and how dispersed across campus it is today. And I know tonight is about the tower, but I just wanted to start out giving you a project update. We'll go into some details about traffic and parking and exterior design. Then we're going to hit some construction logistics. That was a big topic last time we got together last fall and summer that we didn't have details on yet. We'll talk about the impact of this building, and then we'll take questions. So, like I said, tonight is about the tower, but briefly, when we talk about campus transformation, we're talking about a few different things, and the tower is the biggest thing out of campus transformation, but it's not the only thing. This project, the tower, is a 5-year construction timeline. It won't open until 2031, and there are things we need to do to continue to accommodate that growth before the building opens. And so we'll be, as an example, adding 40 inpatient beds to the Galter Pavilion on the 14th and 15th floors. That construction just started, and those beds will open in 2027. We'll be adding 11 new operating rooms to Feinberg 7. That construction begins in 2027, and those ORs will come online in 2028. And then we will grow our lab platform. None of these clinical services can happen without a crucial lab function And so lab will grow and consolidate in the Olson Pavilion. That construction will begin this fall and wrap up in 2028. So that's all going to happen before the tower. And then we get to the tower. So as I mentioned, we did the master planning and programming about 2 years ago to determine what's going to go in the building and how big is it going to be. And then we started design in 2025. We wrapped up schematic design, which is basically taking that information of what's going in the building and how big it's going to be and starting to lay it out on a floor plan. That wrapped up this year in February, and we began design development in April. And that's really starting to zoom in on the rooms. You know, how does an exam room lay out? How does a patient room lay out, et cetera? And that's going to continue for the next several months. From a construction perspective, we are going to begin excavation and demolition this summer/fall. Depends on timing for a building permit. That activity doesn't need any zoning approval. We're fast tracking that activity, and you'll see why later in the deck. And then construction of the building will start in 27 and, like I said, open in 2031. We are in the middle of a fairly intense regulatory approval process with both the state and the city. In the state of Illinois, for a healthcare project of a certain size, you need approval called a certificate of need. This project is so big it needs 3 certificates of need, 2 of which we have already. So we got the design certificate of need approved in September of last year. We just got the demolition certificate of need approved in April, and then the certificate of need for the construction of the building will get submitted this fall and hopefully be approved in spring of 27. And then we're also going through the city zoning process right now that officially kicked off, and that should wrap up in the spring of 27 as well. Before I get into some more project details, I do want to stress, you know, we had some meetings in August of last year. We had some follow-up meetings in the fall and really listened to the feedback of the community and either use that feedback to influence the design progression or in some cases change what our original plan was to accommodate that feedback because we want to be a good neighbor. We are here, we are your neighbor. And so I want to hit on a couple of the things, the key themes we heard and how we address those. One, our original plan was to excavate the entire length of the site, the VAA site, and you'll see that on a map in a second, but the big grass field that I'm sure everybody's familiar with. We were going to go the full site, parking from Fairbanks to McClurg, and then even have some surface parking on what we call that eastern third. And we heard loud and clear that the community would like that to remain undeveloped for the time being and as green space, much like it is today. And so we adjusted our plan. We're only excavating and building foundation parking for that western 2/3, and that eastern third for the moment will remain as is, as green space. We were told to be thoughtful about the building height and setbacks and to avoid kind of a lot line to lot line rectangular building that you sometimes see around the city. And we took that seriously, and I hope you'll see that in the design updates. We've incorporated a very nice public plaza at the corner of Fairbanks and Erie that we're really excited about. The building stack has a lot of curved facades. It's tiered as you get higher. And we've put all parking below grade. So we'll have a 4-story basement in this building. It would have been more cost effective to put it in the building stack, but that would have increased the building height by 3 stories, and we want to be respectful to the surrounding area. Bird strikes were a big topic, wanting to make sure that we were addressing the risk of bird strikes increasing with this new building. And so the building will have bird-fritted glass on the building in the high-risk impact zones that's defined by the City of Chicago and the United States Green Building Council. Traffic and parking is a huge topic, and what can we do to mitigate the impact of this new building in the community? And we have some slides on that, but we've built a parking demand model that's very specific to our building, so we are really confident how much parking for patients and visitors we're going to need in this building. And then also for staff. And we want to build enough parking, but not overbuild parking. And so for staff, we're going to rely on existing capacity in the neighborhood. We know there are plenty of garages with a lot of excess capacity, and that's going to be our plan for staff. And then our big idea on really mitigating the impact here is, and you'll see it on a plan in a second, is converting Huron partially to 2-way traffic So currently Huron is one way. And we really didn't want to force all of the traffic out of this building to Fairbanks because that's the most problematic road in the area right now. There are several, but that's the most problematic one. And so we've worked with CDOT to get them on board with this idea, and we're really excited about that. And then construction logistics. Last summer and fall, we were too early. We still weren't sure exactly what we were building and therefore how we were building it. But we have some more information to share with everybody on construction logistics and how we're going to mitigate the impact of the neighborhood of the construction process. And really, we've come up with a plan that has entry points at all four corners of the site to minimize the impact of truck staging on the street and blocking traffic. There will be 24/7 security devoted to that site and a 24/7 hotline so that urgent issues can be addressed quickly. So just to orient everyone again, we're talking about what we call the VAA, the site of the former VA hospital, just east of Feinberg, bound by Fairbanks, Erie, McClurg, and Huron. And like I said, you see in this diagram, the new tower is taking up 2/3 of this site. That eastern third is reserved for future development, but again, it'll be green space. And you can see that further in the site plan in the area called Prairie. A couple other things to point out with the site plan. So you'll see at the corner of Fairbanks and Erie, that entry plaza. We're really excited about that. It provides a lot of good relief from the sidewalk to the building. The main vehicular, there will be a pedestrian entrance in that plaza. The main vehicular entrance, patient drop-off area will be off of Erie. And after you drop off, you'll actually be able to enter directly into the parking garage from that drop-off instead of having to come back out on Erie. And then Huron will have both the loading dock entrance, but also in and out for the parking garage there as well. This is the building stack and program. I'm not going to read the bullet points on the left, but I'm going to kind of take you through bottom to top of how the building stacks up. So like I mentioned, we have 4-story basement. The bottom 3 floors are for patient parking, about 600 spaces. And then the first level of basement is loading dock and materials management space. Then we go to the ground floor. So the ground floor is obviously our lobby. We have a really nice retail space on the corner that's accessible to the outside, but also phlebotomy. A lot of cancer visits, first thing you do is you go and get your blood drawn and make sure you're either clear for chemo that day or so the doctor can check on your labs. Right now that's done decentralized in every clinic. We're going to centralize that. So you go one place to check in, get your blood work done, and by the time you get up to wherever you're going in the building for treatment, that's all taken care of and you're ready to go. We'll have a mezzanine with some back-of-house space. Second floor serves a couple key functions. The second floor will be the public connection over to Feinberg via a bridge that crosses Fairbanks. And there will be retail as an extension of the Northwestern Shop and Dine program that's been so successful. But we'll also have a public bridge to Shirley Ryan, and we're really excited about that. That's going to cut down on ambulance transfers from Shirley Ryan, traffic, pedestrian. It was a challenging bridge to figure out, but we did it. We're really excited about it. And then the clinical department that's on the second floor is imaging. So it'll have full imaging complement with MRI, CT, X-ray, et cetera. The third floor also serves a connection function. So we cannot build a tunnel as part of this project under Fairbanks. There's a giant sewer line and makes it very infeasible. But we will have a bridge on the third floor for back-of-house traffic. So the bridge going across Fairbanks will actually be a 2-story bridge with that top floor being for back-of-house traffic. And then the rest of the third floor is reserved for surgery department, which we're still figuring out how large that's going to be. Fourth floor has some soft space, supportive oncology, but the big thing on the fourth floor is a really big roof garden that'll be accessible to, as we're saying, if you're supposed to be in the building, you'll be able to go to the roof garden. So that's patients, visitors, staff, physicians will have access to that roof garden. It's an acre of outdoor space. We're really excited about that. The middle of the stack, the dark and light purple colors are outpatient platform. So the dark purple is outpatient oncology clinics of various different disease types. And then the lighter purple is our outpatient infusion departments. And infusion also has their own smaller roof garden out on the 12th floor that'll be accessible for staff and patients. Those visits can be very long, and people sometimes need a moment to get away and connect with nature. And then the top of the stack in blue are inpatient beds. So we'll have 6 floors of inpatient beds. plus one more shelf floor for future expansion. This shows you the building stack again, but what this slide is really trying to communicate are the complexities we have below ground. So when the VA hospital was demolished in the 2000s, it was demolished just to ground, and under all that wonderful looking prairie grass right now is a 3-story basement that still exists. And we need to take that out to facilitate our construction, which is one of the reasons why we're fast tracking that excavation and demolition process. We know that's a huge, very complicated effort. And so I just point your attention to a few things. Everything you see in red, and some of it's kind of obscured by what our new parking deck showing up in here, is something that needs to come out. And everything you see in purple below ground is something that is going to remain. So those are the foundations that go down 80 feet that we need to miss with our new foundations, which are the sticks that show up in blue that also go down almost 100 feet. So it's a very complicated below grade site that's going to take, in order to do this the right way and safely, about 12 months, if not a little more, just to dig the hole. So traffic and parking, like I mentioned, the main vehicular drop-off for patients is off Erie, and you can enter the parking deck straight from there. And then getting into the parking deck from here on, there's also an entrance there as well. And out, if you are dropping somebody off on Erie and do not want to park in the parking garage, you just go back out on Erie. But there's also out from here on. And this is where the two-way concept comes into play here. So you'll notice, even though Huron is one way right now, we're showing two-way partial block where you exit our parking garage. And that is because, again, it would have really complicated the Fairbanks intersection if all of the traffic leaving this building was all forced to Fairbanks. And so we proposed this idea, really had to work with CDOT to get them on board because they were against it at the beginning, but with some help from Alderman Hopkins and Peter Lemon, our traffic engineer, we believe we've got them on board with this idea, which is a big win for the project. The reason it's not two-way all the way from Fairbanks is because there's not room to widen Fairbanks to add turn lanes. And so you would be really exacerbating the traffic issues on Fairbanks because you'd be behind cars waiting to turn, waiting for traffic to clear. Patient parking. So like I mentioned, all of the patient and visitor parking is provided in this building in those 3 stories below ground. We took a really hard look at our building specifically. We didn't just say, okay, this building's 1 million square feet and we need so many parking spaces for 1 million square feet. We looked at every single department that's in the building because they all have very different impacts on how much parking you need. So for example, inpatient units from a patient visitor perspective don't really require much parking at all. The outpatient clinics, there's a lot of churn, and those have a really high demand for parking. And then infusion is somewhere in the middle because those appointment times can be 6-8 hours sometimes. Imaging, MRIs could be 2 hours depending on what kind of MRI you're getting. We literally looked at every department, how long it takes to walk to and from your car, how long those appointment types are, and how utilized all the space is using a very high utilization rate to come up with what our peak day and time of that day are, which yielded a recommendation for about 600 parking spaces, and that's what we have. And then also the garage design is going to be very efficient. So we have 9-foot wide parking spaces, which are not very common in the city. We have very wide drive aisles. We don't have to account for any snow removal because we're underground and indoors. And we will have digital parking availability signs to make it easier for people to find parking instead of just having to drive around not knowing where a space might be. And then employee parking, again, our strategy is to continue to leverage existing capacity in the neighborhood. We rent parking already in a lot of other garages in the neighborhood. We know there's excess capacity in there, so there's no reason for us to overbuild parking for staff. We're just going to continue to leverage that, increase our presence in some of those neighborhood garages for employees, and spread them out really to, one, not concentrate all the employees into one area, but two, our employees like choice about where they're going to park because some of them are coming from the north, some are coming from the west, some are coming from the south. And so we think this is a great plan. And the other thing to keep in mind in terms of impact to the community is while our employees, the peak parking kind of follows a typical morning rush hour, afternoon rush hour. Our patient peak is kind of the opposite. It's late morning, early afternoon is when those peak, and so not all of this traffic is going to hit at the same time. And then, traffic is a hard topic to discuss sometimes, and no offense to Peter, but engineers are so focused on math and can read off a bunch of statistics. But we tried to put this into terms that would resonate with somebody about how it's going to impact their everyday. And you'll see this building is really only going to add a few seconds to getting through these major intersections at the peak times. We know, this is on paper, we know there are things that happen on a daily basis that mess up these numbers a little bit, but nonetheless, the impact, the incremental impact is not as high as you would think. But again, we know people double park and the DoorDash driver hangs out in front of wherever he's picking up food from, and some of that happens. The other thing I want to point out is Peter went back to his counts he did in 2006, and they're almost identical to the counts in 2025 for a myriad of reasons. So while we've grown patient volumes on this campus dramatically, employee volumes have, on the flip side, reduced, whether that's due to commuting patterns or remote work. And so things have evened out despite 20 years of growth quite a bit. Exterior design, so I'm going to play an animation video and I'm going to narrate as the video goes on, and then afterwards I have some still images because I can't pause the video, it'll be a disaster. Some still images of some of the key areas of the building so you can kind of focus in on a little bit. So we are heading north here on Fairbanks. You can see that on the top of that podium, that 4th floor green roof that we're really excited about. You'll notice the building design is really crafted to take advantage of views, not just of Lake Michigan, but the rest of the city skyline. As we come over to Simpson Quarry here, you'll see that smaller triangular shaped roof garden. That's the one that's dedicated to infusion on the 12th floor. This gives you another view of that 4th floor roof garden and the eastern third, again, being prairie much as it is today. And then as we come over McClurg here to Erie, and I know we're heading in the incorrect direction of traffic right now, we'll turn around in a second. You'll see that bridge over to Shirley Ryan right there. Again, we're really excited about that. That's going to be a big win for staff, patients, and visitors. So now as we turn around on Erie and head in the correct direction of traffic, head east here, you'll see that Shirley Ryan Bridge also kind of frames the vehicular drop-off entrance to the new building. And so as we come in here, it's a 3-lane drop-off that is sized to actually accommodate a future tower at some point. And then if you're coming to the drop-off, right to the left there, that's where you would enter the parking garage directly from the drop-off. As we enter the lobby is still very much an interior design in progress thing, so don't pay attention too much to like colors or anything, but Phlebody would be behind us, as are the public elevators. There's a separate group of parking elevators right by those escalators, and that to the left is that Fairbanks and Erie Plaza we're really excited about. As we head up the escalators, and that's the parking garage elevators to our right, you'll see kind of behind us is the imaging department. On the right side is where the retail will be. That's an extension of the public concourse, and then you're looking straight down the bridge that crosses Fairbanks over to the Feinberg Pavilion. As we come outside the building here, you'll see, again, that bridge is 2 stories and really follows the shape of the podium. That's a really strong architectural gesture. And then this is that public plaza that's at Fairbanks and Erie with the pedestrian entrance right there. And as we drop down to the sidewalk level on Fairbanks and head north, on the right is the ground floor retail space. A very, very good size for a retail space. We'll take a peek here down Huron. Like I said, Huron is in and out of the parking garage, and then also kind of towards the end is where the loading dock entrance is. You'll be able to wrap around the entire 4th floor. I think it's 5 or 6 laps to a mile. The north side being more of an arcade than a covered arcade than through green roof. And then as we zoom out, you'll see it is a big building. It's about as tall as Shirley Ryan, I think a little taller, but it fits in from a density perspective, not just with the campus, but with the rest of the neighborhood as a whole. So now here's some still shots. So moving from left to right here, again, on the left, that's from like Fairbanks and Erie, you'll see that plaza. And you can see, again, the podium, the strong movement of that bridge, and then the tower that sits on top of the podium. The middle shot would be like on top of the Olson roof at Fairbanks and Huron. And then the one on the right is at Huron and McClurg. And you see that angled wall, those inpatient units really getting great views of Lake Michigan, and that thing that looks like it comes out like a sailboat, the front of a sailboat, that's the infusion garden. Another really good look at the Fairbanks and Erie Plaza. Like I said, there will be a pedestrian entrance off of that plaza, and a lot of green space. And then this is the shot of Fairbanks and Huron, and that corner really solidified by that retail space that's on the ground floor. Okay, construction logistics. So a few bullet points to hit. We will follow all the city restrictions in terms of start time, end time. We'll be up front. We're going to be working a lot of Saturdays as we deal with this really challenging below grade effort, and try to keep up schedule with probably a bunch of unknown things that we're going to find as we begin excavation. The sidewalk bordering the construction site will be closed, and as will street parking, and become part of the construction site. So the north side of Erie, the west side of McClurg, south side of Huron, and east side of Fairbanks, and there will be signage directing you to use the sidewalk on the other side of the street. So there's gates at all four corners, and the reason for that is trucks can easily pull in and stage in the construction site and then pull out instead of staging on the streets and blocking traffic. Anytime there's trucking activity, we'll have 1 to 2 street sweepers going around cleaning all the roads. And those trucks are also required to be cleaned before they exit our construction site. We'll also be installing monitors that monitor dust and vibration in various locations throughout the neighborhood. And any time a threshold is crossed, the contractor gets an automated text message, work is stopped. There's an investigation done to find out what is causing the threshold exceedance, and then measures put in place to restart work without it happening again. And then proper watering procedures is a must while we're doing this excavation and demolition. And there will also be a 24/7 hotline available for anything that's urgent. This is the barricades. This is what the barricades will look like. So it's a special fence. It's not a chain link that you can fit your toe in and climb. From a security perspective, it's going to be very difficult to climb this. And I don't know if it's going to look exactly like this. So marketing's not quite done with what the barricades will look like, but there will be some Northwestern swag on the construction barriers. The contractor, so this is an animation. It's not as cool as the architectural animation, but they did give us an animation of just explaining how this excavation process is going to go. And by the way, this is all for the next 12 months. There's no sense in communicating a logistics plan that's 4 years from now. We will do this regularly anytime there's a major change. But this will give you an idea of the activity that's going to be going on site for the next 12 months. There's going to be an initial scraping of the site here. Then you're going to see the blue steel sheeting start to come in. That will allow us to perform a little bit more excavation. Then we'll tie back the steel sheeting for structural support. And then we begin this really what's going to seem like an archaeological dig site at times of removing the dirt and the foundations at the same time to get down to where we need to be, at which point we'll flip the ramps to get down into that hole. This is our drilling platform, and then in 12 to 14 months, you'll see this caisson rig start to show up, and these are our foundations. So this last part is part of the building construction process, not the demolition and excavation process. And then we're going to have a project website that will go live before construction starts. This will communicate any community meetings we're going to be having, obviously in conjunction with the Alderman's office. Any major changes to pedestrian and vehicular traffic patterns, if we're going to have a street closure for a weekend or something like that, we'll communicate that here, and then some other things. There will also be a portal for feedback and comments, and we are working on making this so that it's more of you subscribe to it with your email, and it will let you know when there's a change. We haven't figured out quite how we're doing that, but I'm told we can do it. And so this will be made available to the public, like I said, before construction starts. Schedule-wise, so, like I said, we're in the middle of design. We're also in the middle of a very heavy regulatory approval process. But we are going to begin construction again this summer or fall for this excavation and demolition activity. And then once we get all of our zoning approvals, our CON approval, we can start actual construction on the foundations and the below-grade parking garage, roll into structural and enclosure. And like I said, we haven't set a date yet, but this building will open sometime in 2031. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Gina Weldy, Senior Vice President, who's going to just talk about the impact of NM in this building, and then we'll roll into questions.
Thanks, Charlie. I think one of the questions that come up sometimes is how not only will how will this project impact the city, the neighborhood, and the broader community, how will it impact Northwestern's patients? And so we did put together a quick summary just so that we could share with you some of the numbers that we actually do track internally, but we often don't share externally. Obviously, Streeterville is our neighborhood. Streeterville is very important to us. Many of us in this room spend many hours every week in this community. And so we, like you, are very interested in adding these beds. We know how difficult our emergency department is right now. That's really because we have a throughput issue without having enough beds. We have a number of oncology patients that spend way too much time in our emergency department right now. And so the impact of this project, we will be able to alleviate that issue. Just as importantly, we believe in Chicago, and Chicago is our city. We want to continue to double down on this great city that we all call home. NM generates about $17 billion in economic impact and $7.3 billion in total labor income in Chicago. So this tower will help us continue to add great jobs in this community. It'll also help all of the support ecosystem generate income and help the state thrive. We generate about $300 million in tax revenue, but also $14 million in city tax. And this tower will continue to impact that. In addition, we do provide $18 million in direct funding to multiple organizations throughout the city that can help patients beyond just what we do directly, and also help to educate and grow our future medical care providers. We are the third largest provider of Medicaid in the state of Illinois. We provide about $1.5 billion a year in unreimbursed care to Medicare, Medicaid, and uninsured patients. In addition to this, I think what we want to communicate to all of you is that we want to continue to be a good neighbor. It's why you will see us think very carefully about the ground level of this building. You'll continue to see us add retail. You'll continue to see us adding security to the exterior of our buildings. We'll have 24/7 security on this site. Our goal is for this to be as calm a process as possible, even though we understand that you're going to be patient with us for a few years, and we appreciate it. I think the most important impact we have, though, is on our patients. And so we wanted to share one of our patient stories. Our Canning Thoracic Institute will move into this building. And it's a really interesting program to look at when you think about how medical research and academic care come together on this campus. I'm going to play a short video for you.
Not only did I have lung cancer, I had a rare subtype, no cure. So the first time I cried, I was scared, yes, but I almost felt as if I was grieving. I was grieving my former self. Now I'm in a new phase, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty. I didn't know anyone who had cancer. Like someone like me who has never smoked, who works out, rarely if ever drinks alcohol, and eats relatively healthy, minus the occasional donut or two. I was like, okay, we have the diagnosis. It's game time. What are we doing? And the first course of action was chemo, 2 clinical trials, and we went from there. I had no idea if it was going to work. Did my research, read on the drug, and I felt that I had a good grasp. I already knew I was going to do it. But it's still best to have done your homework. My physicians weren't just my physicians. In some ways, it was like family. Yes, you have your village. Yes, you have your family. You have your coworkers, neighbors. I had my personal trainer encouraging me, saying, Trupti, you can do this. But at the end of the day, the only person that you have is yourself. And so, with this trial, I refused to believe that it wasn't going to work. The second time I cried, and I really cried, is when I'm not supposed to cry. This is the third time. When Dr. Patel said, Trupti, there's no evidence of disease. This is not supposed to happen. And I cannot tell you the relief that I felt. I love my treatment team. And my nurses, I bought 70 donuts, had them packed, and I was passing them away like cotton candy. And then I had a couple IV infusions remaining. I love my treatment team. And my nurses, oh my God, this is number 4. I want to spread my message. I've been reaching out to folks in DC, and then an organization like the National Organization of Rare Diseases. 30 million people have a rare disease. Who are these people? Your family, your friends, your neighbors. You, me, us. Clinical trial drugs, they give people the opportunity to live. I mean this with all sincerity. I believe in hospitals that conduct research hospitals, right? That's clinical trial. And these hospitals are affiliated with universities that are conducting research. So what we have here is a science lab to patient pipeline. Every single person was there for me. I will forever be grateful to them. And they're still going to see me. I'm not going anywhere.
So I think that wraps up our formal presentation. Before we go into questions, I do think I want to, on behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you. Part of the impact we know is to this neighborhood. And we know it takes a partnership with all of you to help us grow like this and to keep taking care of patients. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this project. You all have been extremely gracious through this planning process. And we want to thank you in advance for supporting us through this construction process. And with that, I think we're going to open it up to questions.
Yeah.
Just to be clear,
Sorry, 1 second. We're going to give you a microphone so the people on the phone can hear.
Just to be clear, the eastern third is not going to be landscaped. It'll be a field the way it is now?
Yeah, it will look much like it does today.
Okay.
Will Northwestern or can Northwestern provide any type of help with traffic control? Because even now, before construction is starting, it is gridlock out there. So any type of traffic monitors that can help things along. You can't even, there are buses stuck in crosswalks. It's kind of a mess right now.
Yeah, we're going through the review process with CDOT where a bunch of those things would come up, and we're going to work with them to see what we can do. I can't tell you exactly what we can do, but we will be working with CDOT, whether it's resequencing traffic lights or things like that, to try to help with the traffic.
For the eastern 1/3 that will not be built, is there more excavation and demolition under that 1/3 or just?
There will be some level of excavation and minor demolition, I believe, in that eastern 1/3, but not to the extent, the western 2/3 is almost a 50-foot hole. The eastern third is not, I don't know what it is, 6 feet, 8 feet, something like that. It's going to get torn up during construction, but it's going to be restored to what it looks like today. I believe so. I don't know exactly when that excavation happens in relation to the overall construction schedule. There's some phasing that I think needs to happen to get the ramps up and everything, but it will be part of this project.
Thank you. I just wanted to amplify what the Alderman had said about the functional purpose of this building and your video. I realized this afternoon that it's been 7 years, almost to the day, that I met Dr. Altman in the oncology group. And when I met her, she said I had acute myeloid leukemia and I had 3 weeks to live. So I want to do a shout out to her and the entire team that put me here today. It really amplifies the importance of this building. Now that's all heavy stuff, but I want to bring up a little bit lighter topic.
Okay.
There are approximately 11,000 dogs in this community. And I'm just wondering if along the north side on Huron, where it looks like there's some dead space, you might creatively put in a couple of dog runs. I see maybe 2 sections, one for a big dog, one for a little dog, but be creative. There's never enough space for dogs in this community.
We'll look at that. I don't know if there's as much space as it looks like when we get the streetscape and everything like that, but we'll look into that.
Be creative. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words, too. I wasn't expecting a question about dogs, so you threw me for a loop for a second.
Yes, I have. I don't see anything addressing my greatest concern, which is after it's built, what will it sound like? Because you can look out the window and, you know, there it is, and then you turn away and look at something else. The sound never stops. So I have concerns about mechanical noises, HVAC, vibrating. It's sort of noisy now. And I appreciate you wanting to, and understand what you would like to be a good neighbor, but noisy neighbors are not good neighbors. So I would be interested to see how you address that concern.
Sure. I mean, we have an acoustical design consultant on the team that is consulting with this. A lot of things go into that, where the equipment is. A lot of our equipment, not all of it, but a lot of our equipment is inside the building. So there's some of it's below grade, some of it's in an enclosed mechanical floor about halfway up, some of it's on the roof, and the screening goes up all the way. But those are details as we get further into design and really engineering on top of the design. That's when we'll address all those details, and we will definitely make sure, because we're a neighbor too. Our patients that are sleeping are not going to like loud noises, and so we'll be looking at that for sure.
Thanks for the presentation today, and definitely shows the effort that's been put into the project. As a resident of 600 Fairbanks, did have a question about the sight lines. And with the video that we just saw today, was wondering if there might be someone on the team that we could talk to just to understand how it'll impact the northern and eastern exposures of our building, because we would hate to see, of course, our residents impacted and, of course, a possible reduction in value to our properties. So is there anyone that we could talk to just to understand the shape of the building, line sights, and how our residents might be impacted? Yeah, we can look at, I haven't seen a view of from that building, but we can look at that and follow up with you later.
Just off that question, what is the height of the top?
Jerry, keep me honest, 425 feet.
Okay, thanks. And I don't know if you can go to the, I was thinking about parking and the drop-off pickup. Is it all valet or valet and self-park?
Valet, self-park, drop-off from rideshare.
All of that?
Yep.
Okay. And so when they drive into the parking lot and go down, then they're coming back up that same way?
No.
Okay.
The only way
Where
out.
are they picking up their people then for, like, if they did valet, where's the valet bringing their car out?
They'll come back to the Erie, they'll go out on Huron, come back to Erie, the Erie drop-off.
So they actually have to go out on here?
Yes.
That's not that,
No, but the geometry made it impossible to get in and out off of Erie.
So maybe there's a way to get the people over to Huron so that the car does not have to come all the way around the,
Yeah,
because those blocks, and those are left turns, left.
there's probably some safety
Really
and security considerations. There's actually a discharge lounge on the ground floor because we know it might take a little bit of time for your ride to get back. And so on the ground floor, right by that drop-off, there's a discharge lounge for people to wait in a nice area.
But those lefts are just going to be bad for everybody. I mean, bad for the driver, bad for the person waiting, and bad for anybody else who's driving in the area. So if you can think of some way to have your valet pickup over on the north side, I think would make a whole lot more sense.
We'll look into that.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, I live over at 680 North Lakeshore Drive, on the Clerk Court side, so I'm looking over at that field. First of all, I want to say I appreciate that you took a lot of the neighborhood feedback and worked with that. One of the things you mentioned was dust and vibration sensors. Can you expand on that a little? Like how many vibration sensors, where they may be? I'm just curious because I've been in this neighborhood for 32 years and I've lived through a lot of high rises going up, and I can handle the noise, and it might be 6 months or a year of noise, but I'm curious about the impact of vibration on our building.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know how many vibration monitors we are installing, but there's some near Shirley Ryan. There's going to be some in 680. We also have, Simpson Query, they do a lot of very critical research in that building. It's very sensitive to any noise or vibration. And so they're going to have very strict thresholds on what that is. So again, I don't know off the top of my head how many monitors there are, but there are quite a few. And then the same thing with dust. We want to monitor that outdoor air quality, so that it's not impacting us. Again, we're a neighbor too.
I was just piggybacking on what Gail said, if it's possible, because that is a lot of added traffic. Every single one, it's another trip. Thinking of the Hyatt off of Wacker, is it possible to even have the pickup be on the lower level at the garage, where you have an area in the garage where they just go down and be able to get in to go out? I mean, they're being discharged at that point.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. A patient just goes all the way down with their ride too, right? And again, there's elevators. For certain patients, we might look at them discharging directly into the parking garage if there are inpatients being discharged or surgical patients or something like that.
And then question still on the traffic and the noise combined. Ambulances, are they coming into where the drop-off area is?
No.
Or they have a separate?
So we will not have ambulances in this building. There's no emergency department in this building. We couldn't justify with the state touching the emergency department in Feinberg, so that will remain where it is. We actually think, right now, if a patient gets discharged from if a patient at Shirley Ryan exhibits stroke symptoms, first thing you need to do is bring over NMH for a CT. Right now, that's an ambulance ride across the street. This bridge is going to allow those to not be ambulance rides anymore. So we actually think, while we're not impacting the ED, we're not adding ambulance traffic, we're hopefully having some sort of minimal impact on improving that.
Okay.
Thanks. Question on the bridges. So are they going to be for, like with Shirley Ryan, for patients more or for pedestrians as well?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a few lists of questions.
Go ahead.
Just curious, at nighttime, the tint on the window as far as illumination coming out? So if you were living or in one of the other buildings or just in general, late at night? We
haven't landed on our exact glass type yet, but it's going to be designed so that it doesn't let much light out. And that's one of the things with bird strikes too. So we're going to be very cognizant of that. Do you guys just want 2 microphones?
Yeah, really. Okay, on the timing, like the 11 Pavilion, it's an outpatient, so it's more of a day. And I know a lot of, like when my husband was doing chemo, it was during the day. So is this going to be much more kind of a day schedule and it'll be dark at night then? Or what is kind of
For most of the departments, yes. Obviously the inpatient stack at the top, but those patients should be sleeping when it's night. Will some infusion treatments happen at night? Certainly possible. I mean, part of, sometimes we need to meet the patients where they are. And so some people are working through that treatment and would prefer some off hours. But most of it will likely be during the day.
I was just curious, I couldn't see it on the photos. The prairie, is that accessible, or will that be fenced off like?
It'll be fenced off like it is today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
You guys sure? All right, well, thank you. I think Alderman Hopkins, you wanted to say a few words? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, team, Charlie, Scott, Gina, Posh, everybody. Good job putting it together. There's more questions that need to be addressed, but it's a work in progress. And I just do want to point out that community input, as you saw, did have an impact on this project. So this is not an exercise in futility at all. We wouldn't waste your time by getting you together in meeting after meeting and then not have some kind of tangible result of the discussion and the feedback. So I want to continue to invite additional feedback, comments, and questions. In fact, I want to encourage it. Not everyone is the type to raise their hand in a meeting like this. There's other ways to get your questions and your input to my office. If you want to send an email, if you want to give me a call, whatever it is. But please, if you have thoughts, if you have ideas, if you have questions, let us know. Let us know right now. A lot of progress has been made, but it is not a done deal yet. There's still an opportunity to get your hands in this and to continue having an impact. And I would encourage you to do so, especially the people in 680. We're paying a little extra special attention to you guys because it is literally in your backyard, or your front yard, depending on how you look at it. And that's going to be an ongoing process. So, but for everyone in the community still, this is something that we really want you to stay engaged. It makes my job easier as an alderman when I go to the team and I say that this is not just from me. I'm not just telling you I need you to do this. I'm representing a significant amount of feedback from the neighborhood that is asking you to do this. So it makes my job easier when you guys stay engaged in this process. So thank you very much and really appreciate it. More to come.